What is going on, everyone? This is Eric coming at you from just outside of Hartford, Connecticut, and today we're going to continue the rant series as I rant about the 5 teams in the AL Central. Now, full disclosure, I don't really have any hatred towards any of these 5 teams, so this isn't going to be the strongest rant video, but still, we got to do it. So we'll start off with the Cleveland Guardians. Now that the 2021 season has officially come to an end, they are officially known as the Cleveland Guardians. And the first bullet point, of course, is the fact that they were known as the Indians through the 2021 season. Now, back in the day, when they came up with that name, it was more than acceptable. But by 2020, it had to go. And it was a name that, you guys know that I do the History of series. And when I was doing my research, I was trying to figure out, okay, how'd they come up with the nickname of Indians? And once I found the true story of it, essentially, the ownership saying, oh, hey, if we choose the name Indians, the fans will be able to have fun. They'll go and they'll get drunk and they'll, do whooping sounds and stuff. It just completely turned off. It made me completely despise the name Cleveland Indians, and I tried my best to refuse to say that team name from there on out. So, yeah, I don't want to go on a complete rant just about that team name. Now, their new nickname of Guardians, it's better than Indians, don't get me wrong, but why? That's such a bad name. I don't understand it. We're not even going to get into the fact that there's another team in Cleveland named the Guardians already, but why would you choose the name Guardians? It's such a bad name. That's like a high school, it's like a middle school football team name. Oh, we're the Guardians now. It would be cool if you had like a partnership with Disney and you were like the Guardians of the Galaxy type of thing, but you're not that. You have no partnership with Disney. So I don't know what they were thinking when they come up with that name. That's all I'm going to say. Larry Dolan does not care. If you're a Cleveland fan, you know who Larry Dolan is. If you're not, he's the owner of the team. And he is essentially a cheapskate. He doesn't care about the team. He just wants to save his own money. If you want to save money, you shouldn't be an MLB owner, especially in a team like Cleveland. This fan base is starving for a championship. Of course, they went decades without a championship before Cleveland, the Cavaliers, won it for basketball. So this team, the fan base deserves better, okay? Cleveland fans and Philadelphia fans are pretty much equal to an extent in the amount of misery and suffering that they've had to go through in the years. So I feel for Cleveland fans, and if Phillies didn't have their own moronic owner, it's awful. It's awful for Cleveland. I feel bad for you. Larry Dolan sucks. Nap LaJoie situation. Way back in time, the Phillies had a talented player named Nap LaJoie. Now, he had a falling out with the Phillies because of the NL. We'll get to that at some point in the future. And essentially, Nap decided to join the Athletics. The Athletics couldn't sign him because of a court order, so they traded him to Cleveland. And Nap LaJoie went on to be the best baseball player, arguably the best baseball player before Ty Cobb and Babe Ruth and all them. So, yeah, it hurts as a Phillies fan. Maybe they would have won a World Series if LaJoie had stayed in Philly. But grasping at straws with that one. I don't hate Nap LaJoie. I don't hate Cleveland for what they did for getting him. But it's just kind of like you're the team that got him. So, Detroit Tigers, Ty Cobb. Now, Ty Cobb is arguably the best player of all time. I personally would make a case that Ty Cobb is the best player of all time. But we're not here to talk about Ty Cobb the player. We're here to talk about Ty Cobb the person. Ty Cobb was one of the meanest people you could ever come across, so they say. He would get in fights with his teammates. He would have petty feuds with his teammates. He would get in fights with fans. He would fight you if you heckled him. Now, keep in mind, this was 100 years ago, so it wasn't completely uncommon. But if you're fighting fans, people don't like you. Of course, he was known for cleating players as well. He would wear his cleats. He would go and intentionally try to spike you. So, like I said, I like Ty Cobb the player, but the person, no. The 2003 Tigers. They went 43 and 119 that year. They were so close to breaking the all-time winning percentage record, which would have been hysterical. But then they had to go on this random, meaningless winning streak at the end of the year where they won 5 of their last 6 games, which kept them from that infamy. Cleveland Spiders, sorry. But, it's still the worst most losses at least in the American League's history. So it was a rotten season, and I just had to mention it. I don't remember it, but my dad, who's a Tigers fan, I remember him just being so upset with the Tigers that year. Last thing, failing to win a World Series with their elite starting rotation. Now, I am a fan of Max Scherzer. I do like Justin Verlander. The fact that they are both in Detroit was just made me, somewhat support the Tigers. And then throw in the fact that they had 3 other strong starting pitchers. How do you fail to win a World Series with that elite core? Not to mention, you had players like Torrey Hunter, you had players like, I think JD was after this elite time frame. You had Ian Kinsler, you had Prince Fielder, you had, of course, Miguel Cabrera. How do you fail to win? You had Victor Martinez. How do you fail to win a World Series with this elite team? I never got that. So much talent, but you failed to win a World Series. And I get it. Not everyone can win the World Series. But you should have done it. You had one of the better managers of the 21st century, at least, in Jim Leland. You should have been able to win a championship with all that talent. Kansas City Royals, complete irrelevance. When I'm thinking of baseball teams, I don't understand why Kansas City still has a team. But, they're just so irrelevant all the time. If I'm looking at the AL, probably the last team I think of is the Kansas City Royals. They're just there. There's nothing in Kansas City that makes me say, oh, I remember Kansas City. Oh, yeah, Kansas City. The only time I remember Kansas City is when I think back, and I'm like, oh, yeah, back in time. 1980, the Phillies beat them in the World Series. 1985, they won the World Series. 2015, they won the World Series. Other than that, I don't think anything of them. They're just there. Like I said, they have their one good year every once in a while. 1985, 2015. It's just, other than those years, they stink. They're not really a team. They have some good players, but unfortunately, that's just the side effect of how baseball is now with the small ball era. And, you have the big market teams and the small market teams. Unfortunately, Kansas City gets kind of screwed. They serve as the fun police to an extent as well. So, Kansas City is one of those teams that they don't really go out there and, have fun as players. They'll be the team that if you do a backflip, you're going to get hit the next at bat. So they really just serve as the fun police. They have pitchers that just get angry, it seems. And, if you try to have fun, they don't want that. They basically try to uphold the unwritten rules of baseball, which, with how things are going nowadays, it's not really worth it. Minnesota Twins, cutting David Ortiz. You guys know I don't like the Boston Red Sox. And, eventually, once I found out the Minnesota Twins had him in their system and got rid of him, and then he went straight to Boston, it just makes me despise the Twins for that. I remember going to New Britain Rockcats games back in the day, and they used to have posters of Ortiz because he was pretty good in Double-A there. And I remember one time I asked my dad, he's like, oh yeah, they had David Ortiz and they cut him. And seeing as I don't like the Red Sox, that's a big knock on you. Josh Donaldson. I mentioned the fun police with Kansas City. Josh Donaldson is essentially a bit of a baby as well. He literally threatened to give out a list of all the players that he said cheated with the illegal pitching substances during the 2021 season. He's also a bit of a hothead, so I'm not a fan of Donaldson. And Donaldson, I also mentioned him just because he kind of sums up what the Twins were doing. I don't like how baseball is turning into this 3 true outcome type of sport where, oh, hey, we have these 3 super strong outcomes where it's either you hit a homer, you strike out, or you walk. I don't like it. Donaldson is one of the bigger players who does that for the Twins. They have other guys too. They had Nelson Cruz, of course. So they have Miguel Sano. So yeah, the old Metrodome and its white roof. So if you watch old baseball games from the Twins from when they still played in the Metrodome, you would see that players would constantly be losing track of the baseball. And then the Twins tried to complain and say, oh, it's not fair that we play in this stadium. It doesn't give us any advantage, but we lose out on it because the baseball gets lost in the roof. Bro, what? Lastly, we have them stealing the Washington Senators. Now, full disclosure, I completely understand why the Senators moved from Washington to Minnesota, and it made sense. But my problem is them doing this, and Texas, of course, stealing a team from Washington, led to Washington stealing a team from Montreal. I still remember when the Expos left Montreal. And that, I'd prefer to see the Montreal Expos and the Washington Nationals. I mean, outside of 2019, the Nationals haven't really had a good fan base. I mean, they're essentially Citizens Bank Park in the South. We know this. They basically, we'll get to the Nationals in a little bit. I gotta stop. But yeah, Minnesota, you get a knock for that. Now, lastly, I have the Chicago White Sox. And I put the White Sox last intentionally just because I don't have too much to say about them. So earlier in the year, we had a video that came out, a few videos that came out discussing the Black Sox scandal. So of course that gave a big black eye to the league, and it made the implementation of the commissioner's role. So I can't hate them for that, but what I do hate is the fact that Buck Weaver and Shoeless Joe Jackson both kind of got screwed. But yeah. Charles Kaminsky was the owner of the team at that time. He was known as one of the worst owners. He was apparently a cheapskate. Yeah, I mean, Kaminsky 2021 standards wouldn't be an owner, I don't think, but it's kind of tough to compare him. He wasn't as much of a cheapskate as people think, but, you know, it is what it is. I don't think he'd be a great owner by 2021 standards. Lastly, we have them trading Nick Madrigal. Madrigal is one of my favorite players in the league, so the fact that they traded him away for a reliever just made me scratch my head. But it's where we are nowadays. Anyway, one good thing to say about each team. Chicago White Sox. There's really not much to hate about Chicago, the White Sox at least. This team, you know, they have some great players, and if this was earlier in the year, I would have said you have Nick Madrigal, but I just love the fact that you had some great players in your past as well, and you've been through some really rough times, so I can relate to that. Minnesota Twins. Growing up, my sister liked the Twins, so I kind of adopted them as my AL team to an extent. They let me down a lot in the past year, so I kind of distanced myself from them. But they've had some good players in the past, and they, of course, had Kirby Puckett. And they have Byron Buxton, at least for now. Kansas City Royals. There's really nothing great for me with the Royals. I do like that they have Whit Merrifield and Adalberto Mondesi. Those are two players that I'm a fan of. I'm not huge fans of them, but yeah. Detroit Tigers. Like I said before, my dad's a Tigers fan, and I like Ty Cobb. I would definitely make the case that Ty Cobb is the best player of all time. I could make that case. I won't today. Cleveland Guardians. You have my probably second favorite player in the league behind Bryce Harper and Shane Bieber. So, of course, that's going to make me like you. And Chicago, both Cleveland and Chicago had Bill Veeck as an owner, and I'm a big Bill Veeck fan. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. This was, again, the AL Central Rant. Have a good rest of your day.